September 9th MPO Coordinating Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order at 10:02. Is there any public comment?
Hassel has a public comment.
All righty. Can
you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
I'm the E&D chair for Erie County Paratransit, and for the record, I was not the person who requested the blind signs in our roundabout. Connie Schwartzfield Shue requested it. She's totally blind now, and she was assuming we would have 3 blind pedestrian signs, but we only have 2. So people are coming down Millfair Road with a blindness or visual impairment or blind deaf, because we have 1 blind deaf person. Traffic doesn't know coming down Millfair Road that there's going to be somebody possibly with a visual or hearing impairment. So how can we remedy that problem? I think at the last meeting I requested somebody to look into it, and somebody said they're going to reach out to Mill Creek Engineering, and I just want an update so I can tell Connie. Thank you.
Certainly. Can anyone comment on that? Anybody from Mill Creek?
Yeah, Tim, this is Matt Waldinger from Mill Creek. I did speak to our traffic engineer, and they reminded me that stretch of Millfair now is the PennDOT's responsibility. We did turn it back to them north of 26th Street when the bridge was going in. So I don't believe they were going to put any signs up. I don't know if PennDOT potentially could do that, please.
I'll ask Tom McClellan to help me on that topic as our former traffic engineer.
Sure. Yeah. The blind pedestrian sign is a sign that it's actually in PennDOT gives permission for that sign on state roadways to municipalities. It's one of the special warning signs. It's a condition that's outside of a road condition. So like school, watch children, things of those nature. So there's a special warning sign application that gets filled out by the municipality and sent to our traffic unit. We'll take a look at it, and then we give permission for the municipality to install and maintain that type of a sign. So you can work with our traffic unit on that, Matt.
Okay, yeah, I'll contact them offline and figure out the process for that.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Connie. I'll be happy. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks, everybody, for taking care of that. Any other public comment? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 10th meeting?
This is Matt Waldinger. I'll make that motion.
Derek Martin, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We don't need to do a roll call, do we, Emily?
No, not for this.
Okay.
If it's unanimous, no.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All righty. Moving on to the transportation, or the TIP updates. Dan Keene will go over the FCC charts for us. If you can, Dan, please.
Hi, yes, good morning. None of the actions reached the agreed upon threshold this go around, but I'll touch on administrative modification number 2. We're looking at advancing US 20 Cumberland Road to Davison Road, $1,361,202 from federal fiscal year 2021 into federal fiscal year 2020. And we were using the Zuck Road to Chestnut Street, Zuck Road, Zimmerly to 26th Street, and savings from US 20 over Elk Creek to advance that project into 2020. And then using the Erie Highway Bridge line item as a balancing source for the funds in 2021. And then at the bottom of the chart, you can see that we added the Act 13 bridges, the local match, and the Act 13 funding for Bell Road, T303 Bridge, Act 13, and Bateman Avenue Bridge. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Dan? Not sure if everyone is aware, but Dan has received a new appointment to a new position with PennDOT, but luckily he has agreed to run double duty for the next several months at least. Dan, is that correct?
Yep. You guys will be stuck with me.
Well,
But
we
no, it'll be
appreciate
a
it.
pleasure to be here and continue working with Emily and the team here.
Thank you. Congratulations to you as well.
Thank you.
All righty. Emily, the e-ballot results?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention, we had an e-ballot done. We talked about this at the last TAC meeting, but to be official, it needs to be recorded in the coordinating committee meeting minutes. So this is a review if you were at the last TAC meeting, but we did have an email ballot to make sure the local federal aid route line item was on the 2019 tip and then could be obligated on the 2021 tip. So that vote was 13 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstained. So just putting that in the official meeting minutes for this coordinating committee meeting.
Okay, great. All right. Any questions of Emily on that? We all responded favorably, so. Okay. With none, Emily will move on to the Bayfront Central Parkway letter of support. If you want to, you and Brian want to take the lead on this.
Yeah, Brian, I know you had talked about making a motion. I don't know if you want to introduce the motion or would you prefer that I speak?
Sure, I can. Should I give an update of kind of the background first, or does that come second?
That would be good if you could give an update of the background.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So thanks for the time here. I just wanted everyone to know where we are. I feel like we've updated this committee and the TAC many times as we've developed this Bayfront Parkway project over the last several years. So as a reminder, it started as a feasibility study of the corridor back in 2015, and then developed into a project, or I guess I would say that feasibility study created some recommendations. Some of those were ranked very high on the long-range transportation plan. The project was awarded funds, and here we are today, about 2 or 3 years into the actual design of the project itself. Progress has been very good, actually, even though these things do take a long time and there's a lot of time ahead of us yet. I won't go over the scope of the project, the selected alternatives. I think we all are familiar with that. If there's any questions, Tom or I could answer those. But where we are in the process now, for those who aren't aware, part of our project delivery involves removal of the CSX tracks that are just mostly south of the Parkway within the project limits. And it also includes the removal of the 2 places where those tracks cross Holland Street, and then really they go under the State Street and Parkway intersection. So that's a long process. One of the most complicated things that we do in any of our projects across the board is that type of coordination, where we will be purchasing right-of-way from CSX. Of course, CSX has been a very cooperative partner. They're okay with it. If they weren't okay with it, we probably wouldn't be here discussing it. So we appreciate their partnership. They've agreed. Of course, we're going to mitigate that loss of tracks elsewhere, so we do have to build them additional storage tracks further to the east, down near the Soldiers and Sailors Home. But part of all of this is working with the Public Utility Commission, the PUC, who has oversight over public crossings, such as at Holland and at State Street intersections. So anywhere you have a rail line crossing a public road, PUC has jurisdiction they determine who owns what, who maintains what, who's responsible for what, and so on. Part of the process here is to abolish those crossings officially. And so as a party of record, the city of Erie is part of that with us. So we've had great cooperation with the city as well in partnering all along with this project. Of course, you know, right now that resolution to apply to PUC went to city council, and city council tabled it. Understandably, they were hearing a lot of concerns from folks who disagree with the selected alternative. So that's where we've been kind of on hold. All the other design activities, environmental activities, and so on continue. But that very critical part of this project schedule and project delivery that has to do with the railroad action is on hold right now based on that resolution. Those who, I guess I'd say, disagree with the selected alternative are very vocal, and that's what we see in most of our projects. We welcome their input. You know, we're used to hearing those opposed. If you think about it, in any public project, those opposed most often are the most vocal. You might have sometimes, you know, I guess I'd say from PennDOT's perspective, we feel we're in a position of speaking for those who are keeping silent and approve of the project, and therefore aren't really motivated to be as vocal. So we've had, you know, overwhelming public support of the project throughout the 5 years, the 4 public meetings, the many different stakeholder meetings, coordinating committee meetings, project advisory committee meetings. I mean, we have been very transparent. Project website has been available for quite some time now with all the information that we really have. So we do still have great, you know, support and documentation to show that our selected alternative, although, you know, some don't like it overall, we will call it a consensus. It's a solution that meets many different needs, both pedestrian and bicycle needs, along with vehicular traffic, accommodating the future growth that we hope to see. You know, the city and the region hopes to see there, that development and the creation of jobs and attractions at the waterfront. But still, you know, I always just want to encourage everybody to voice your opinion. And if you're, you know, somebody who has watched this project grow, you know, please let City Council know that you approve of the alternative as well, because all they're hearing right now is that you know, we haven't done public involvement, concerns about environmental processes. Tom and I would be more than happy to talk in depth about any of those topics and answer any of those questions, because we absolutely have followed the process correctly. Environmental, everything is exactly as it should be. We feel we're held to very high standards in that regard. So I guess overall, to summarize, what I'm asking the coordinating committee for today is a letter of support for the project. You approved a similar letter when we applied for the build grant, which again we submitted in July. I think it was middle of July of this year, maybe it was June, but that decision is forthcoming. So whether we will get those 25 million or some portion of it, we should know by September 15th next week. But that letter that was written by the MPO coordinating committee in support of that build grant, I would just ask for a similar letter so that City Council does get the full picture and is aware of who supports what we've done and what we have so far. So with that, go ahead, Mayor.
I'll make that motion to have the MPO send a letter of support to put it on the record.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Tushak seconds. Is there any discussion on this?
Well, I can, since you all made a motion and seconded, I did start drafting a letter that we hopefully can discuss a little now. So this is the text. I just finished with it, but it's basically based on our long-range transportation plan. So one of the questions that City Council had specifically at their study session was, who created this project way back when? Who was the impetus for this? And the answer that PennDOT said was the planning partners, which the MPO is part of that. So just a reminder for everyone who wasn't around in 2017 like me, this was part of our long-range transportation plan. It was our second highest priority. So you can read the project description here that the MPO did prioritize using the decision lens process back in 2017. So this project has been supported by the MPO for quite a while. So the letter that was drafted basically just supports that we as an MPO prioritized this in 2017 and that we still have those priorities now. I'm happy to send this specific text out for people to review after the meeting to really dig into the text. But if anyone has any questions or suggestions that they'd like to include in the letter to City Council, I am more than happy to integrate that into this letter. I wasn't here in 2017, so I don't know what that discussion was. So any insights are welcome from anyone who was here before.
Sure. Okay. And I guess Brian or Emily, when are you hoping that we might be able to get a letter to council?
I've heard a tentative possible date for the public hearing that City Council hopes to hear as September 24th, but I know that's not confirmed yet. So soon then would be, you know, would be much appreciated if they all agree.
So Emily, you know, maybe sometime this week, if you get any feedback of any sort, any input, once
That
the members
sounds
get a
good.
chance to review.
So I'll email this out after the meeting and then we can have a week to review and then sign the letter. How does that sound?
That would work for our schedule.
Okay.
Okay, alrighty. We had a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Hey, Emily, this is Dan. Could you scroll down again? Do you just have the list of projects in the draft letter?
I just included this for the meeting to, I can actually include this page from the LRTP in the letter if you think that would be useful. I just pulled this for the meeting to remind everyone and myself what the actual text was from the long-range transportation plan.
I'm just wondering if, like, maybe we could provide the criteria that we use to rank these projects as well. If I remember right, I thought pedestrian movement was up there as a higher percentage. I'd have to go back and look.
No, you're right, Dan. You're right, Dan. We were able to increase the pedestrian connectivity. I think the ranking was much higher for pedestrianisms in this last LRTP. So I think that's true, the plan.
Okay.
I know council is a little unfamiliar, and so I appreciate this. I know they're unfamiliar with the process of the long-range transportation plan, even though they're brought into it at many, different points. But I think this would be helpful to explain the long-range transportation plan and the public involvement that goes into creating those recommendations as well, I think is important. And sorry, Emily, I didn't get a chance to sort of review your draft.
No, it's okay. I just finished it. This has been kind of last minute, so I will send this out so you can really dig into it.
And I noticed, I think that the first line was actually Bayfront improvements at 6th Street, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I think it would be good to even mention, if you include this, that those are currently under study by PennDOT as well and the city. So these these things aren't happening in a vacuum, and they're looking at the improvement a lot across the entire Parkway.
Okay, I'm making notes. Those are all great. Thank you.
Any other suggestions right now, as you've had 3 minutes to take a look at the letter? And if not, I would call for a vote. Do you need a roll call on this, Emily, or just majority?
If there's anyone who abstains or objects, a roll call, but if it's unanimous to
Okay.
write a letter to City Council, that will be fine.
Sure. Okay. I'll call for a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Emily, you'll send this out to us, and if you have any input or comments, please get back to her by the end of the week, so she can make some adjustments if necessary, and get it out to us again, and we'll move on with this.
Thank you.
Certainly. Let's go. Moving on to project updates. Is Danny with us today for an EMTA update?
Yes.
Morning, Danny.
I am here. Morning. All right. For the planning studies for EMTA right now, as always, we're using the UPWP funds for a number of different transit planning studies and analyses. Our SMS plan that has been a little bit delayed due to COVID, but we plan on completing that by the end of this month, if not mid-October. For project updates right now, we do have the GenFare fare boxes installed. Those are working. The token transit mobile ticketing will be implemented very soon as well. Those will be stuck on the side of the fare box, and they'll be able to track who's getting on and who's getting off where and when and how frequently. So we're excited for that to be implemented. We were recently awarded $1.46 million for the 2020 bus and bus facilities. So that'll be replacing 3 of our 40-foot diesel buses. That's also on top of the 5 buses we were awarded funds for the 2019 bus and bus facilities. So we're looking forward to getting 8 new CNG buses here. We have partnered with the Eastside Grassroots Coalition and installed 3 brand new bus shelters in 3 different locations, and we will be installing thermal imaging cameras throughout the building to reinforce the temperature taking and everything of all of our drivers as they come in. So we will double check those for our drivers as well, so they're not getting out on the road and driving in with a fever or any sort of COVID symptoms. The construction updates, we are 95% completed. So our public fueling station, we're anticipated to be completed probably in the next week or so here. We're pretty excited for that. And the anticipated completion date of this entire project is the end of 2020. So fingers crossed, nothing else goes wrong and we can get this project done with. Any questions?
No, I don't. Anyone else? I will say that I actually drove past the new project about a week or so ago, and it is incredibly impressive. I'm anxious to get a tour and really see the workings of the project, but
Yeah,
very impressive looking
absolutely.
tour.
We encourage anyone, if they'd like to have a tour of the building or the 9 acres here, the new facility, just to get a hold of us, and we'd be glad to show you guys around. So anytime.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Danny.
Yep.
Emily, update on the $5 local use fee.
Yes, so we haven't talked about this in a while, but we are still collecting the $5 from local registrations of cars to put towards locally owned bridges in Erie County. So just as a balance sheet, we have quite a bit of money in the funds. that is currently dedicated to two bridges, Etter Road Bridge in Green Township and Leet Road Bridge in Harbor Creek. We're still working up to that $2 million required to get the $2 million match. So we still have a little bit to go. We have collected quite a bit of money, and we actually are collecting interest as well. So we made over $19,000 in interest so far. So we have money and we're trying to spend it to fix locally owned bridges. So for the actual projects, so 2 are completed, 2 are in progress right now, the Etter Road and the Leet Road Bridge. So I did recently receive some updates from the engineer. It is Mark Corey on both of the projects. Tim, actually, did you want to say anything about the Leet Road Bridge in Harbor Creek?
I mean, we, applied for the permit from DEP in May, and actually were issued the permit just a week ago on September 2nd. So final design details are being worked on right now. Hopefully approval in October. And so we're moving forward with the project, and very grateful and thankful for MPO's participation in this and support.
Great. And the same is true with the Green Township Road, the Etter Road Bridge. They also just received DEP clearance over the waterway. Both projects are now going into the structural adequacy review with PennDOT. Once that is complete, then both projects will be let in the spring of 2021 is the current schedule. So those are moving. We will likely not have any allocations of funds in 2020 just because these are more complicated bridges and the permitting is a little more time consuming, especially with COVID. So those are those 2 local use fee bridges. We also have the 3 match bridges that we're getting the $2 million match for. And actually, Greg Lindsay from PennDOT, I believe, is on the line to discuss those 3 match bridges that we're getting with the $2 million match. Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning. My name is Greg Lindsay. I'm the project manager for the 3 bridges in McKean Township. We're calling them the old Route 99 bridges. So I'd like to offer a status update on the project. So we have completed the consultant selection process, and we have sent the request for a contract to the central office in Harrisburg. There was some issues with the submittal. I think we need to negotiate with the consultant on a couple of man hours on a couple line items. And I would expect to have that wrapped up probably in the next couple weeks to move the consultant agreement forward. So that's where we're at on that. The district is doing the surveying. We have the surveying scheduled for October for that. So when the consultant goes on board, we could send them the surveying. They'll be able to get going on that. And I believe the project is scheduled to let in January of 2022, which seems realistic. That is my update on this project. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Any questions of Greg? Thank you for the update, Greg. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, long-range transportation plan, Emily?
All right, so I just wanted to share that the TAC committee voted to create a subcommittee for our next long-range transportation plan update, which will be due in March of 2022. So just what we were talking about with the Bayfront, that was 2017 when those projects were prioritized. We're going into a new update of that plan for 2022. So I've been discussing with WRA to use our open-end contract to use them to complete, as a consultant to complete or help us complete our update. I will be sending out an email to try to get people to join our subcommittee if you have the time and inclination. Our next step is to really define the scope of work on the long-range transportation plan and set an official schedule to make sure we get it adopted by 2022. So look for an email about that, asking for subcommittee participation.
All right. Anything else to add on that, Emily?
That's all for me.
Okay. All right. You want to move on to the major projects activity report? We did all receive that in our agenda, but do you want to go over that as well, Emily, then?
Well, if there are any questions specifically, PennDOT can answer any questions about these projects. These are the major projects, such as Depot Road, Pine Avenue, and French, that intersection. So basically, if anyone has any questions, now is the time to ask PennDOT.
Bill Kuhn here. Is Interstate 90 on that major projects list?
Yeah, this is Tom, Bill, and it sure is. And right now we're working on that next section from mileposts in design. We're working on the milepost 3 to 10, and you know, the final plans are going to be submitted to central office here very shortly, and you know, that will be in construction next year. So right now, what's out in construction on I-90 is those first 3 miles from 0 to 3. And then the next section, like I mentioned, from 3 to 10 will be start construction next spring. And just another tidbit, I guess, that the next section of I-90, milepost 10 to 18 out towards Sterretania, that is just under design. We're just looking at the consultant statements of interest right now, and that's the beginning of that process. But that section of I-90 won't go until I think it's 2026, so a long way off there. But you know, just you know, interstate is, you know, a major project, and you know, we're moving along on that.
Yeah, I was more interested in the bridges on 90, 18, 215, and the others.
Yeah, those are the ones we'll be just starting the design on here, and looking at those in that section, the design process.
Because I got the results of the tests on Route 18 bridge on the grounds and everything there. We had presented here Monday night at council meeting.
Okay.
From the soil conservation people.
Yeah, we have some pretty soft soils in that area. So if they discuss that, or if we mentioned it before, that's part of the duration of construction will be, you know, surcharging those soils in places, meaning for everybody else's benefit, you know, we're be piling up soil and letting it settle for those clayey types of soils. That's really the best way to get them to settle. So there's several months in the project construction schedule just to address those poor soils where we'll be adding additional weight because we're, you know, changing the alignment of the bridges slightly.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Tom, Depot Road as well. I mean, are we, they're working on utility relocations now? Is that where we stand?
Yeah, I believe so. They're doing some of that, and they're also jumping into final design. With that Depot Road being Harbor Creek, I know you're familiar with the hill going down toward the elementary school. But in final design, we're also including that concrete section out by the truck stop, and we're on I-90. So we're including that in there. So that's what's taken a little bit more time, is to get that added into the project, kind of adding into it, because that pavement is the end of its useful life. Let's say it's pretty rough.
That is fantastic to hear.
So
yep.
we're taking our time to add that other bit in because there's so many issues out there. But you know, it's still set, I think, for 2022.
Okay,
again,
fantastic.
So,
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions of Tom or Brian on activities going around? No? Okay, thanks guys, appreciate that. Other business, Emily, you want to talk about the DCED multimodal fund application?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to everyone that the DCD does have multimodal funds, and they extended the application to September 30th if anyone was interested in multimodal funds. There doesn't seem to be a lot of extra funds floating around, especially with COVID, but DCD still has some. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about that.
Great. Okay. All right. Any other discussion today? Anything anybody needs to touch on? Doesn't sound like it. Our next meeting will be the TAC committee, which is November 18th. Thank Dan again for being with us and continuing his labors with the FCC chart, and best wishes in your new assignment as well. Thank you. Greg, also thanks for joining us, and Brian and Tom as well. Nobody's running out. Emily, anything else to add?
Nope, that's all for me.
All right, great. Motion to adjourn.
Don't move, Bill Kuhn.
Thanks, Bill. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.